Alright, so I reinstalled the fuel injectors. I needed 4 hands, so I couldn't record it. The O-rings, the new O-rings, you grease them up with either silicone oil or PAG oil, polyglycol something oil. I use silicone oil. That's what I had immediately available. So you put those O-rings in the inside the motor, not on the injector itself, like the top O-ring, but in the injector itself. All 4 of them. Grease them up. I also greased up the around the fuel injector where it goes into the O-ring, just so that it can go in there snugly without, you know, moving the O-ring in any way. Because we do want to maintain constant pressure on that O-ring and fuel injector, so there is absolutely no leaks at all. Obviously, leaks on anything, especially compressed natural gas, is pretty dangerous. The best way of doing it, I found, it took me a couple tries, is to insert the pressure regulator first onto the fuel rail, and then at that point in time maneuver the injectors into the motor. If you do it the other way, where you insert the fuel injector rails inside first and then try to maneuver this, you'll have to move the rail again, and I just wasn't confident that the seal was good inside with the O-ring and the injector, so I found this would be the easiest way. Alright, so I've already tightened these a little bit, reinstalled the hose here, regular nut. Also lubricated the O-ring that goes in here, and lubricated the O-ring that connects onto this as well. So I'm not gonna tighten this just yet. I'm just gonna hold it on there. Then I'm going to install this. Just this way it'll give me some wiggle room to make sure that I can still maneuver this into the hole there. Alright, so now the other one. You just got to maneuver it in there, hand tighten it. Again, move this harness here so that you can gain access to it. And once it's hand tightened, then you can tighten it completely with the wrench or whatever you can get in there. Alright, so everything's now tightened. Tighten these 2 screws here, back on there. Looks pretty snug there. Tighten the nut for the fuel rail. Tighten the fuel rail itself. And reinstall the vacuum hose here. Now it's a matter of just connecting the connections that you disconnected earlier. One there, connecting the fuel injectors. Make sure they clip in, snap in. Again, connect the sensors. I disconnected this hose so I can get to that screw a little easier, so I'm going to put that back in. Connect the fuel rail. I think this is a temperature sensor, if I recall correctly. You have to push this one in real deep before it actually clicks. It doesn't look like it's connected, but it is. The map sensors. This is the clamp I was telling you earlier that connects to the air filter. Alright, so now I need to reinstall this harness here. Not really necessary, but I like to put everything back the way it was, just in case. Alright, so I'm just tightening these here. That's the harness. Alright, and now the top one. Again, they're 10mm screws. This one's really easy to get to, so. That's good enough. Nice and tight. Next thing would be the air box. I didn't mention this earlier, but whenever I do work, especially in the motor, I always disconnect the battery entirely. Just make sure you have the code for your radio. If you have a stock radio, you're going to need a code after you connect the battery on again. These are the same length, so I guess it didn't really matter to label them, but I did just in case. These magnetic holders are awesome. Highly recommend it. Again, it's 10mm. I'm not going to tighten them, I'm just going to screw them in a couple turns just to make sure they're in. Only because I might need to maneuver or jiggle it around a bit so I can connect this one back in there. And the hardest thing would be to get this in here. I guess you can remove this and put it in the opposite way here like that, but I've taken it out before and it goes in like that. It just takes a little bit more. Alright, so I got maneuvered all the screws in, put them in the hole just to make sure everything is nice and snug. Reconnected this hose to it. It's not fully in, but I'll put it in later. And now it's all about just tightening them up. I got my ratchet drill here. Do all the elbow work. Alright, so all those are snug. Next thing would be to just reinstall this air filter here. One screw there, one screw here. Reconnect this sensor. Where that sensor is, I'm not sure. Now down here again, there's going to be that clamp that clamps this onto the top of the intake manifold. You just need to screw this on tight. I'll do that later, but that's where it is right there. Again, I'm going to screw these in later on, just showing you how to put them in. At this time would be okay to again put this hose back in here. And then now you can put these back in. Now that everything's on there and they're not on the way any longer. And that's pretty much it. At that point, everything is now connected. Next thing would be to reconnect the battery, of course. Remove all these tools from the engine compartment. Open up the gas line and then go through the leak test. There's a specific way of checking these cars for leaks. You don't want to just turn on the gas and then turn on the car. There's a step-by-step process to make sure that there is no leaks before you actually do turn on the car. I guess that's pretty much it. Again, I'm not an expert mechanic. I did some research before I started this. I didn't find anything on YouTube that showed me how to do it, so I figured anybody else looking for it, they can get some tips on this. This may not be the right way of doing it, but this is the way I did it, and I will pause here until I reconnect everything, check for leaks, and then turn the car on, see if it still works.